Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. For press that's on the call, if you have any questions, just wait until after and you can drop them in the chat and we will get to them. We are also waiting for Howard from the CPC. And so once he gets on too, we will, but I don't want to waste any more time. I know everyone's busy, so we will get started. Thanks. Susan, to you. Susan, you are on mute.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Susan Lerner, and I'm the Executive Director of Common Cause New York and the Board Chair of Rank the Vote NYC. Thanks to all of you for being here. In 2019, New York City voters overwhelmingly approved ranked choice voting with nearly 74% of the vote. That's because voters understand that ranked choice voting gives them more choice and more voice, while putting power back in the hands of the people where it belongs. It's a pro-voter reform, and in cities with RCV, voters routinely and consistently give it high marks, including preferring it over the old winner-take-all model of elections. And it's being used right now in the special election in Queens. It's the first election of many using ranked choice voting here in New York City. So far, thousands of voters have made their way to the polls to rank their top 5 choices. I want to remind folks that we will not know the complete results of this election until at least 13 days after Election Day. And that's all right. That is normal per our state election law. Tonight, we'll get the first choice results from every election day and early in-person voter. However, we won't have the full results until absentee and military ballots are counted, which, as I've said, requires a 13-day waiting period per state law. If at that point no candidate has over 50% of the first choice votes, then the round-by-round counting will begin. Voters are smart, capable, and excited about RCV, as we found in our dozens of trainings, working in close partnership with our community partners like the Queens Public Library and those you'll be hearing from in a minute. And yes, despite the pandemic, Rank the Vote NYC has held dozens of online training sessions, attracting participants throughout the 5 boroughs to learn about ranked choice voting, how it works, and its impact on elections. I'll let the others on the call talk about that now. So now we'd like to hear from Jagpreet Singh, who is the lead organizer at Chaya Community Development Corporation. Jagpreet.
Thank you, Susan. My name is Jagpreet Singh. I'm the lead organizer at Chaya CDC. We're a community-based organization that works with the South Asian and Indo-Caribbean populations to build housing stability, economic justice, and power within our communities. We've been working in civic engagement for the last 2 decades, and it's definitely been an important piece of the work that we do. We know that for too long, our communities have been sidestepped and ignored when it comes to the overall civic sphere of New York City. You know, South Asians have been in New York City since the 1850s, yet none have ever held public office within the New York City government. And it just took until last year for the first South Asians to even be elected within the confines and geography of New York City through the state assembly. And there are many reasons for this, right? Up until the 60s, we couldn't even claim citizenship. And then for a long time, we were ostracized and alienated from the political process. But in recent history, one of the reasons South Asians haven't been able to climb the ranks to political office has often been that the issues around redistricting, where our communities lie, the fact that our communities have been cracked through redistricting efforts, but ultimately as well that when South Asians run in districts, often multiple South Asians end up running, which end up splitting or spoiling each other's votes. And we see a lot of examples of this, whether it was the Assembly District 24 election last year, CD 23 and 28 back in 2015. The platform, the real electoral work hasn't been able to be done to ensure that one South Asian can win if there's multiple South Asian candidates running. And this isn't just true for my community, it's true for many communities across New York City. Ranked choice voting is the only option that we see at Chaya that can prevent this, that can ensure that if multiple people from similar backgrounds run, there is a possibility that one of them can win. Now, the only way that's going to happen is if we are doing the work to ensure that our communities and communities across the borough and across our city are being educated around ranked choice voting. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the last month or two. We've been out there hitting the ground, ensuring that the 10 associations in Jamaica that we've been working with for the last decade are aware of ranked choice voting, running trainings and seminars for them. Every year we host candidate forums in districts that have a heavy South Asian population, which we did again for this race, where we spent the first 20 minutes doing education around ranked choice voting that was available in English, Bangla, and Spanish and Chinese. And we were excited to do all of these because we know this is what it's going to take to ensure that our community gets the information that they need. And we rounded it all up with doing the best amount of safe in-person education as we can, including handing out pamphlets and flyers at busy intersections, of going to the community where they're at, whether it's religious institutions or community centers, to ensure that they're educated about the process. We really want to make sure that as many voters as possible at least know what the process is going to look like and are familiar with what the ballot design changes are before they go in and vote, either today or throughout early voting process or through absentee ballot. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that this process that's supposed to bring us into the political fray isn't disenfranchising our communities as well. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the past month and a half or so. I'm excited to work with our partners at Common Cause, at CPC, and the NAACP in order to ensure that we're bringing the quality education to our communities. And we're not going to stop here. We have another special election coming up at towards the end of this month. We have primaries throughout the over in June for the entirety of Queens and many parts of the city council. We want to make sure that before any of those voters go to cast their vote, they're not only familiar with RCV, they understand why it's important and they understand what this is going to do to our communities. Thank you.
Jagpreet, thank you. And now we're going to hear from Howard Wong, who is the Civic Engagement Manager at the Chinese American Planning Council. Howard.
Hi everyone. I'm Howard. I'm the Civic Engagement Manager from Chinese American Planning Council. A lot of Asian candidates, or a lot of new candidates and new political incomers have shown up in the recent elections because of ranked choice voting. Traditionally, a lot of candidates do not want to run for office because either a fear of incumbents or because they feel like there's protection for certain candidates with fundraising abilities. So our ranked choice voting allows for a lot of new talents for our political process to prosper. And this is a good thing. We're seeing some districts with 15 candidates, just like where I live. So this is a process that is new. A lot of people are unfamiliar with. Even I've been talking to some individuals within my constituencies. Even the regular voting process, a lot of people are confused about where to vote, right? How do you get registered to vote? So there's a lot of work to do as community members, to engage them to vote, to understand that this process allows their voices to be heard. It allows them to pick more candidates. Their votes will not be wasted. And it's a great thing. This is how democracy should work. And I thank you everyone who have pushed ranked choice voting. This is a really exciting time, and I'm looking forward to work with everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Now we're going to hear from Django Mahmood, who is the Queens organizer at Rank the Vote NYC. Django.
Thanks, Susan. Hey, everyone. Yep, I'm Django, Queens organizer with Rank the Vote NYC. Good morning, happy Tuesday. Whoa, today is an exciting day for New York City, especially here in Queens, of course, as voting draws to a close in the first election to use ranked choice voting. And of course, at Rank the Vote NYC, we are dedicated to educating voters on this new system. We posted nearly 30 training sessions alone in the last month, giving campaigns and candidates the tools to educate their voters about ranked choice voting. And we posted forums with candidates and community leaders to spread the word about it. Our trainings have been tailored to meet the needs of women of color running for office, labor unions, community-based organizations, elected officials, and civic associations. And for our voter education efforts, we always have these two primary goals. The first being to educate voters on how to complete the new ballot and how the new vote counting process will work. And the second being to ensure that voters understand the value proposition of ranking their ballot if they choose to rank. All educational materials that we have are multilingual and adapted in collaboration with our partners in the disability rights community. And we also have it in large print versions. So far, our materials have been translated into Spanish, Bangla, Haitian Creole, Korean, Russian, Nepali, and Chinese, both traditional and simplified. Our education program leverages partnerships with community-based organizations, of course. Shout out to Jackpreet from Chaya and Howard from the Chinese American Planning Council. You know, they have these deep connections to the communities, and they serve that are either borough or citywide, borough specific or citywide. And of course, I've also been doing my part in collaboration with our partners to help my neighbors understand, what their ballot's going to look like before they even reach the polls. Besides these virtual trainings and in district tablings, I've also worked with our team to pinpoint locations and drop off these very informative palm cards. I actually have one right here. They show how to use the bubbling grid and also how to contact information if you experience any problems at the polls. We had these dropped off to multiple places of worship in CD24 that are also food pantries, just trying to do our best to reach everyone where we can. I'm excited that we're making New York City history today. I've been saying that Queens is ready to rank. And with that, I'll hand the mic over to Becky.
Yes,